They called him a loser, until one fight changed everything. The poor boy everyone laughed at is about to become the most feared fighter in the arena.
Welcome back, Focus Learners, to today's Explainer. We've got a really incredible one for you today. We're unpacking a narrative that feels, honestly, completely cinematic. It's this classic hero's journey, but it is just packed with deeply applicable life lessons. We're going to be exploring the awakening of a legendary warrior, a guy who rose from the absolute muddiest, grittiest streets to step into the ultimate championship arena. And look, this isn't just some story about fighting, right? It's really a masterclass on the sheer power of human resilience.
Okay, let's dive right into this. To really appreciate the incredible heights this warrior reaches, we absolutely have to understand the bleakness of his starting point. We begin in the poorest corner of a really harsh city. We're introduced to this young boy who literally has nothing but a dream. And his daily reality, it was brutal. Every fight ended the exact same way, with him lying on the ground while the crowd laughed. He wasn't starting with some crazy natural talent. He was starting from the absolute rock bottom, just enduring constant public defeat.
So, that brings us to Section 1, The Rise from Nothing.
And this brilliantly illustrates the massive gap between what this boy actually needed and the cruel mockery of the world around him. On one side, you have his stark physical reality. Torn clothes, a chronically empty stomach. He's stepping into these highly dangerous fight rings, just hoping, literally just hoping, to earn enough for a single meal. But on the other side, the crowd's perception. They just see a scrawny kid getting knocked into the dust. They call him weak, completely blind to the fact that he's already fighting a much, much larger battle just to survive the day.
But that external perception? It didn't define him. Deep inside, a warrior was waiting to awaken. The true inciting incident happened in one of those dirty underground rings. Desperate for food money, he faced a way stronger opponent, and bam, he was almost immediately knocked down, while the crowd just roared for the winner. But here's the spark. Here's where it changes. Despite the pain, the absolute humiliation of being knocked into the dirt, he refused to stay down. Nobody in the crowd even noticed it, but that single, stubborn refusal to accept defeat, that was the exact moment his awakening began.
Moving right along to Section 2, Turning Pain into Power.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the profound internal alchemy it required to make this change. He didn't have a fancy gym. He trained entirely alone in an abandoned warehouse. Step 1, train before sunrise and long after sunset. He's putting in the grueling work when absolutely no one is watching. Step 2, turn every bruise into a lesson. He started viewing physical feedback as vital data. And step 3, maybe the most important, use every failure as fuel. Instead of giving up after being laughed out of the ring, he metabolized that exact humiliation to build his physical and mental strength. It's literally like turning poison into medicine.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 3, the Master's Guidance.
So picture this. One evening, framed in the warm light of a traditional wooden dojo, an elderly martial arts master happens to observe the boy training in complete silence. And where the crowd only saw a weak loser lacking any talent, the master saw something much more profound. He saw something no one else could see, not talent, but discipline. And we have to pause here because this is huge. The master didn't care about raw, unearned ability. He valued the boy's unyielding grit. Recognizing this incredibly rare trait, he offered the boy a life-altering chance to train under his direct guidance.
This kicks off Section 4, Forging the True Warrior.
Let's move to the timeline and see how this builds. Because guys, this was definitely not an overnight success story. It was a grueling, methodical progression. Over the early months, his punches slowly become lightning fast. Years go by, and his kicks become sharper through relentless practice on wooden dummies and grueling mountain runs. But the physical changes, those were actually secondary. Over those years stepping into fights, that frantic, desperate energy of the starving boy vanished. It was replaced by this quiet, lethal composure. He was finally stepping into every fight with calm confidence.
And this evolution culminated in a massive philosophical shift. As the quote says, he was no longer chasing victory. He was mastering himself. Let's really think about that for a second. When he started, he fought for purely external things, right? Money, basic survival, just trying to stop the crowd from mocking him. But through all that disciplined training, the goalposts moved. The external opponent became totally irrelevant. He realized the only opponent that truly mattered was his own mind. And honestly, that's a shift we can all learn from.
All right, Section 5, the ultimate championship victory.
So armed with this profound self-mastery, the boy who was once mocked in the dust steps under the brightest lights imaginable. The arena is absolutely packed. It is roaring. He's facing the undefeated champion. Round 1, a brutal clash of raw power and intense physical endurance. Round 2 pushes even deeper. It becomes an immense test of the warrior's spirit and his composure under intense pressure. And then, the final moments. Everything converges. The warehouse training, the mountain runs, the master's quiet lessons. In a breathtaking, split-second sequence, one perfect, precise combination topples the undefeated champion and the arena just absolutely explodes.
And finally, Section 6, A Champion's True Legacy.
Now, standing alone at sunrise years later, the true impact of the story finally comes into focus. People remembered the champion, sure, but they never forgot the poor boy who refused to quit. The physical hardware, the trophy, the title belt, those things are completely temporary. What echoed through time, what actually inspired an entire city, was the journey itself. It was the memory of a starving kid in torn clothes who was knocked down but simply chose to stand back up.
So the crucial point is how this story forces us to totally redefine success. True victory wasn't actually the championship belt. Victory is proving that discipline, courage, and relentless effort can change a life forever. That is the real takeaway for us today. Your arena? It might be a classroom, it might be a boardroom, or maybe a personal passion project. The variables are different, for sure, but the fundamental formula for victory remains exactly the same.
This brings us to the core thesis of this entire journey. Every champion was once a beginner who refused to quit. Think about it. No one starts at the top. The greatest experts, the strongest minds, they all started out knowing absolutely nothing and getting knocked down repeatedly. The only difference? They refused to stay down. If this story resonated with you, make sure to subscribe to our Explainer series for more incredible deep dives into powerful, transformative narratives just like this one.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a thought to carry into your day. We saw how the boy in our story took the laughter and the bruises and literally turned them into the fuel that powered his rise to the top. So I have to ask you, what failure will you use as fuel for your own awakening today? Let that sink in. Thank you so much for joining me on today's Explainer. Keep pushing forward, and I'll see you next time.